I think we all understand that the shutdown of the federal government, which could be ended today if the Speaker of the House would allow a vote on a clean CR, is causing enormous problems all across this country. Some 1.2 million Americans, 1.2 million Americans who happen to be federal employees, most of whom are not wealthy, and many of whom have not had a pay increase in the last 3 years. These people are not getting the paychecks that they deserve and that they have expected. And like every other American, these federal employees have mortgage payments to make, they have car payments to make, they have college loans to pay off, they have to pay off all of their basic needs like every other human being. And they're sitting there at home or sometimes at work and they're wondering, how am I going to do this? How am I going to do this? And in addition to that, we have tens of millions of Americans who are dependent upon the services these federal employees provide. I am worried that in the state of Vermont, all over this country, at some point we're going to be shutting down Head Start centers. Think about what that does to the children, but also think about what it does to the parents, to the mom who has a job, who takes her kid into the Head Start center. Well, she can't go to work. Maybe she loses her job. What happens to her income? What happens to her family? What happens to the senior citizen at the end of a dirt road in Vermont or rural America who isn't getting his or her meals on wheels today? These are old people too fragile to get out of the house. They need this nutrition. How many of them are going to die? How many of them are today living in anxiety about what will happen in the coming weeks? Now, one of the points that has not been made about this federal shutdown and its impact on the American people is that 1/4 of the federal workforce, in fact, some 27.3%, are veterans. So when we talk about American workers being hurt in the shutdown, federal employees being hurt in the shutdown, we should understand that over 1/4 of those federal employees are men and women who have put their lives on the line to defend our country. And that's how we're saying thank you. You're not getting a check, you're not coming in to work. Now let me get into some of the specifics of what this shutdown means to our veterans and to the Veterans Benefits Administration. Over the last week, the Veterans Benefits Administration has been relying on carryover funding to continue activities during the lapse in appropriations. However, at the close of business last Monday, 2 days ago, all of VA's carryover funds were exhausted. What does that mean? In plain words, it means that beginning yesterday, 7,000 VBA employees were put into furlough status. More than half of those individuals, by the way, happen to be veterans. And let me say that again. More than half of those people laid off were veterans. These are the people who have honorably served their nation, who want to do well by their fellow veterans, and are now being sent home. Now, what do these initial furloughs mean to veteran services? Let me just name a few of the services that are currently shut down. The Education Call Center, where students call for help, shut down. Personal interviews and hearings at regional offices for veterans trying to get benefits, trying to learn more about how they get benefits, shut down. Educational and vocational counseling for transitioning veterans, shut down. And on it goes. In addition, nearly 3,000 IT workers, information technology workers, were furloughed Monday. This means work on the Veterans Benefits Management System, or VBMS, part of VA's solution for reducing the backlog of disability claims, has been slowed down. All of you have heard about the outrage of veterans applying for benefits and having to wait, in some cases, years to get those benefits processed. The truth of the matter is the VA has been making progress. That waiting time has been shortened. Forget about that now. We're going to laying off. We're furloughing people. We're going to continue to see that backlog, instead of being cut, we're going to see some real slowdown in the progress that the VA has been making. So all those people who talk about their great concern about the backlog should know that what the shutdown is about is preventing the VA from going forward. Now, what happens in a few weeks from now? VA has stated that claims processing for the payment of compensation, pension, educational, vocational rehabilitation, and employment benefits will continue until VA's remaining mandatory funds for these programs are exhausted, which is projected to happen in late October, 2 or 3 weeks from now. At that point, VA will need to furlough another 14,000 employees. Again, half of those employees are veterans. And here is maybe the most important point that I can make. If that disastrous scenario occurs, over 4 million veterans, service members, and survivors will not get the benefits that they have been promised and the benefits that they depend upon. Some of these veterans are very low income. Without the necessary funds, VA will not be able to pay an average of $6.25 billion in monthly compensation, pensions, education, and vocational rehabilitation benefits. That is an unimaginable disaster. So let me just conclude by once again hoping very much that the Speaker of the House will do the right thing, that he will allow his body to have a vote, that we can end this shutdown today and put our people back to work.
Thank you, Chairman Sanders. My name is Eleanor Davis Westcott, and I work for the Department of Veterans Affairs in the Philadelphia Regional Office for the Veteran Benefits Administration. I have worked for the VA for 22 years, processing rating claims for decisions for our veterans and beneficiaries. And I'm also AFGE Local 940's Vice President. I have served in the Army Reserves, and so I am myself a veteran. The GI afforded me, as a vet, financial assistance to receive my degree. I am still working today, but many of my colleagues, as of yesterday, received this notification from the VA that they are furloughed and they are not at work today. More than 1/3 of the workforce has been sent home. Our folks in the public contact cannot provide in-person customer service to our veterans who call or walk in the door. Many of these veterans are elderly, have disability, and also are widows that need personal assistance. Our quality review team is not at work. They provide oversight to ensure that we process claims accurately. Many of our folks who develop and rate claims and make decisions are also not at work, and that's myself as a rating specialist. This impacts the veteran of getting treatment, since his claim is not being adjudicated to determine if entitlement is warranted based upon his disability of an injury that might have incurred in service. Our claims processor in the Pension Management Center will not be on the job today helping veterans. This is an income-based program provided to low-income veterans, widows, and their children. These people rely on this service, and they will not be receiving their payments to meet their financial obligations. Disabled veterans who work at the VBA and who depend on an employee assistance program for weekly support are not being able to get that type of program because they are furloughed. And many of these veterans depend on this in-house program while they are waiting for outside service by their physicians. 52% of VBA workers are veterans themselves. We come to work with mission-specific efforts to reduce the backlog of our fellow veterans. With this furlough, we cannot meet our mission. It is very disheartening when I cannot give back to my fellow veterans. Right now, we have redone our lives for mandatory overtime. Our lives have been disrupted and rearranged. Right now, mandatory overtime has been canceled. That mandatory overtime was specific to reducing the backlog. We will not be able to meet our objective. And also, we will not know when we will be able to return back to work. Lastly, if the VA cannot be the model employer for veterans, who can be? I am a proud VA employee who serves veteran and is a veteran. Thank you.